So this new moon is going to oppose Mars in Aries. So our will and our drive is going to be in conflict with our feelings and our identities. And so it's like when you drink too much and you're puking, like that shows like, okay, like, my body wanted to do more than I could actually do.
I just want you to know, like, I'm in the bathroom and hearing everything and I co-sign. I'm
No,
like, yes, thanks.
And this is also squaring, which means like it's in a challenging relationship to the planets Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter, which to me are like daddy planets for us this year.
Yes.
And so like this is intense energy in the air and it's gonna need an outlet. So you're gonna be working through some shit. And like I'm an artist. I know some of y'all are probably artists. Like do something a little freaky. Like it's for like Scorpio season is about kind of doing freaky things. So like maybe it's like stabbing a pillow, getting a pillow from Walmart. It's like $4 and just stabbing the shit out of it because you need to work the shit out.
A good idea. Have you done that before?
Yes, of course.
Fuck yeah, I do cry selfies. What do you guys do? Write it in the chat box. How do we label that? Like
just the way you work through your shit, right? Like you're imagining all the things that are pissing you off.
Yes.
People use like orgasms to like kind of like shed energy. I really recommend that.
I certainly do. I love to come.
Yeah. And so like and this one is going to trigger our defenses, and sometimes we're defensive in a way that stops our growth. But defending ourselves is an important investment in our emotional well-being because you're going to get defensive and you're going to be like, where's this defense coming from? Is it my own projections? Is it my own trauma? Or is this person fucking bothering me? It's okay to ward off bad shit. Do it in a way that makes you feel safe though. And think about the things that reassure you when you have no one but yourself and your instincts in the moment to make that decision.
Yeah, like how do you source that from within? How do you know the difference between like when you're talking about like discernment or judgment? Like how do you know internally? What does it feel like to know?
So that's where it's like your own shit, right? Because some of us like just have inner knowing. Some of us are really good at feeling it in our bodies. Some of us you can put a song, like you put your Spotify on shuffle and the first song describes what you need. So we all have different intuitive practices that help us be kind of in alignment. And so like, I can't tell y'all what your thing is, but I think you all know what your thing is. You have your intuition, you know what you're doing. You like are grounded in like defending yourself or knowing when your annoyances are rooted in something else. And so like the practice of canning and preserving fruit for the winter, you're going to think of the things within yourself that deserve preservation.
Ooh, so love.
You're going to think about the one thing that you really love about yourself. And like, it's not just like canning isn't putting shit in a can. It's like a whole process of like boiling the container, adding the preserving spices and ingredients. And you're going to bring that level of intention and protection to your process of preserving that part of you and making sure that part of you doesn't get lost in the chaos of what will be like, I guess, the time until the full moon. Venus right now is in Virgo and Neptune is in Pisces. Your friends' connections and business deal will have an illusory quality to them. So I wouldn't sign a contract or make anything concrete with this energy. I mean, if you have to, you have to, but always like double check, advocate for yourself, ask questions. I am not someone who is afraid of Mercury retrograde, but I know my rights during Mercury retrograde. But anyway, just like make sure you know what's going on and then open yourself up to some spiritual experiences. So meditate, do something a little woo-woo. This is a little woo-woo. And embrace nature.
Yeah.
So like carving pumpkins and shit, like that's going to be really fun. And then I feel like every like wellness astrologer person is like drink water. But this full moon is also a great time to implement.
No, I honestly can't bring myself to drink water right now. It's something that I'm like shamefully struggling with.
Okay. So
What's that about?
maybe it's buying some new herbs to add to your tea, seeping some hibiscus in your water, or even replacing your water filter. Like, you could check in with your practice and be like, okay, like, water out of the tap fucking sucks. So I'm gonna put some like strawberries in it and think of myself as a delicious goddess.
It's like all of a sudden you're a witch.
Right.
Huh. Fun.
And so that's like the energy and the ways that you can like harness this energy. I think it is better to kind of protect yourself during moon right now than it is to really go into the very like chaotic energy is really fun. But if you need a break from it, you know,
it's only fun if you know there's a break from it.
Yeah.
It's not fun if you're like, I live here now.
Yeah. And so
I'm never going to copy the plague and be fucked up. We can enjoy this moment because someday we shall overcome.
Right. So I have these animal cards. I'm going to shuffle them. We're all going to collectively think about like the advice we want. Ooh, I feel y'all. The shuffling gets easier when we're in alignment. And I'm just going to pick one. Okay, I feel it. The fox. So your sharpened senses will allow you to observe the actions of others. So this is all about Venus and Virgo discernment. This is what I was talking about friends, business deals, contracts. And now I'm going to read a little bit about the fox just because I want y'all to hear what the book says. But we were talking about this, so it doesn't surprise me. The bewitching fox, supreme opportunist, mistress of stealth, observes the world unseen that much may be learned and gained. The fox counsels you to hone your senses until they are as sharp as hers and become purposefully conscious and alert to what is happening in the world around you. Soon the interconnectedness of life will become clear, allowing you not only to see the inevitable outcomes to certain situations, but like the fox, to know instinctively when an invitation is an opportunity. The fox counsels you to take it. So,
yeah, dude. I have so much to say, but I'm actually needing to help. I have a tech situation happening. Back to you, Elizabeth. But I would want to say, fuck yeah. And oh my God, so many thoughts.
Yeah, so I'm now going to look at the chat. Okay, great. So does anyone have any questions about like the new moon advice that I was giving, or like thoughts or things that even come to mind for y'all when you're thinking about like, I don't know, how you're going to prepare for this next 2 weeks and what's going to be happening in your lives? Like if you have this stuff.
I was going to say, now that I'm done throwing up, feel a little bit better, so we're going to ride that energy. The fox too, the thing with the fox is interesting because I think like when I think it's like 5 years now that I'm actually really been studying astrology, right? So before that, I've always like channeled a lot of philosophy and understandings and had been knowing. But one of the things that I really started realizing is, like the rabbit hole theme. Like my life is about jumping into rabbit holes and like getting lost and then ending up on the other side. So the fox, I actually had written this like sort of like a poem, and the way that I described it was like you have to learn how to be like the fox when you're doing rabbit hole work, or you're like starting a new journey or whatever it is. And when you're in the rabbit hole, like you can't first of all go backwards. There is no such thing. Like when every backwards movement is still forward, like all of the retrogrades, that's what that teaches us. Like we're still moving forward even when we think we're taking a break, or we think we're slowing down, right? And like the fox is so like look at me right now. The fox, if I'm not the literal representation of this energy, I have no idea. And that's what I also want to talk about. The fox is cunning and fast and very intelligent, right? But is quiet. Foxes don't make a lot of noise. So they run around and, they get what they got to get, and they're beautiful. So like, even though they don't make a lot of noise and they are so intelligent, they don't really, you're not going to see them making a lot of noise and ruining shit. Like, it's not one of those animals that are in your face that are talked about. It's not like everybody gets scared when they see a bear or a lion. Well, if you see a fox in the woods, you're probably like, oh, what is that? And it's intriguing. It's kind of like the rabbit, right? In this whole jumping into these spaces too, right? But the thing is, the rabbit, no one really talks about, like I said, the fox, right? So you have the rabbit, and the rabbit is the one keeping with the time and running away, always running away. Well, the foxes don't necessarily run away either. They're kind of braver than that, right? Because they are predators. They're not necessarily prey. So in having that kind of like predator-like approach, but knowing that even if you're attacking life, right, as a predator, that doesn't mean that you're manly or masculine, right? Because that fox does that good job of being masculine and feminine. And it's weird, I guess, to talk about animals with that masculine feminine energy, but the truth is, like, they have it too, right? We can see it in everything. We see it in trees. And yeah, so with me, like, my Venus is in Virgo too, so that's even why I look the way I do. Like, this is why I'm fucking going, like, literally I'm just in the energy. There's no way around this one for me, because the sun, and then right now as we speak, right? Because I'm even
Wait, Nicole, can I just say something really quick?
Yeah.
Nicole. Nicole. So, you guys, Natalie, I did Natalie's chart. Okay, she doesn't even know what the fuck she's doing here. She's my comedian friend, and she did not know what a moon was. Looking forward to her set. She is actually next, so I'm just giving her a heads up. But what I want to say is, one of the reasons why when Nicole and I started like grooving, we had the exact same Venus placement, 9 degrees Virgo. Mm-hmm. Natalie has the same Venus placement.
Oh.
And Haley has the same Venus placement.
Oh yeah.
Does anybody have anything at 9 degrees Virgo? Or think about, we'll put it in the chat if you have other things in Virgo, but if it's 9 degrees Virgo, I am curious. But because what a cool coincidence, huh?
Yeah, but even for this, right? So I have a 10th house Virgo, right, with Jupiter and Venus, and I look like a mess right now, and I'm not prepared. So those are all the things.
You look like so fucking good.
But those are the things that are like kind of amazing, because at the end of the day, I'm really getting the lesson of my Venus in Virgo, and it's like I don't have to show up perfect in order to perform, right? Like we were talking about before, I am a performer at all times, right? Fine, but incorporating my real life and my real struggle is the best part of the act. Like that's the best part. So even to see myself like this, right? Even like I'm just having the moment with me, because this is a big moment with myself. With like,
what's really fucking annoying, you actually look fucking gorgeous. You look like prettier than usual. Like, yeah, puke more.
I don't know. Thank you. So it's like, okay, so, and then my Mercury's in Scorpio. Mercury right now is 10 degrees, sitting right next to the moon in 11, right? So this is a real purge for real. This is a real, like, bringing up, like, it all. And what are the things that have you ignored? Like, for me to even think that, all right, yeah. And the funny thing is, me and Sarah were planning this, and she asked, like, sure, what time should we do it? And I'm like, oh, 6 is good. Like, it makes sense. Let's do it earlier in the day. This is probably the first time that I wish it was at 9. So I could at least
like, enjoy you look fucking gorgeous. Be a fucking hangover model. Somebody call Pedialyte. Pedialyte. Yeah, do we have a guy? That's the thing. With team, I don't actually have to reach out to Pedialyte. That's what I'm saying. You guys, the ideas that I have, I am as big as I think I am. And you know how I know? Because you guys are here and everyone's doing their job to make this thing make sense, which if you weren't here and I was doing this, it wouldn't make sense. So it actually is not something, I realized, my job isn't to like, be the fucking leader and save the family. It's to fucking get the farm going again. The farm has been dead. And so when you go, okay, I'm a farmer, and let's open a house with the farmers, the other farmers fucking show up. I'm thrilled for being asked to play in this moment, because it's so chaotic that even if you tried to plan ahead, you would be wrong, because you don't know that you're not born yet.
We are once again, as we're seeing everything turn, this little simulation that we have going at the Moonual, because that's what it is, right, is highlighting the bigger simulation and the changes of what's going on. So the way that the working world is changing it, and the transparency, and I'm always huge on transparency, because at the end of the day, this is what we're moving forward when we're talking about, like, honoring yourself at work. Yeah, saying that you feel like shit, and either showing up that way and like not being ashamed of it, because there's nothing to be ashamed of, and that we have to figure out these natural rhythms. The only way we're going to figure it out is by fucking up. Like, we can't figure it out unless we push our limits and we take it to that next level, and we get uncomfortable, and then we reel it back in, because now we know like how we really feel, what we can do, what we can't do, and doing it together. Because in this way, like, I could have just been like laid out here.
Obviously worth showing up, you do. And when it's not worth throwing up, you don't. And you know what? When it's worth throwing up, I love rhymes, you do. And sometimes it's worth it, and sometimes it's not. And when it's not, how you know is that you go, this, if this is the plague and I'm stuck here, this is not. If you don't love your life right now, despite all things, you have until December to wake up. I don't want to say you're going to get coronavirus and die. That's that's something I don't want to predict that. It's irresponsible to predict that if you don't do that, you will get coronavirus and die. But it's the best case scenario of actually not getting coronavirus and dying. I think that would be a healthier way to put it. You're going to give yourself a better opportunity to not die from coronavirus when the next wave of universe. You think a tsunami is something that anyone's like, okay, so when the tsunami happens, no, you gotta in the moment of the tsunami, stop and actually like move your arms. You're now in water. It's like, yeah, think about the feelings, express them when it's time for that. But otherwise, like, we are out here swimming in the universe. Astrology gives us a lot of cheat codes, and there's a lot of other modalities that we can work through together over the next, I actually think this is our life's work. So we're going to talk about it forevermore. Now we don't have to rush. There's nowhere to go. We're here. And that's how you should feel in every moment of every day, because actually, not only could you get coronavirus and die, but actually the world is completely, Kobe died. No one's safe. This is actually a really scary time. But Nicole's talking about pressure. Yeah, you know what? The reason we get so drunk that we puke or whatever is because sometimes it's nice to feel alive. And it's nice to go, no, this, people are talking about how 2020 is the year of like relationships are really showing. I think Sean just said that, right? Relationships are showing. Yeah, because it's the first time that we've actually understood the difference between like it's like what's real and what's not. It's like there's no bullshit. There's actually no room for theater anymore. Now the irony is we're going to crush using theater, but it's because we're not doing we're actually not trying to play into the characters of what the world wants us to be. It's actually more subversive to really be here now. And especially if we use astrology as our tool and get to know ourselves and each other and the stories and see things in a different way, who the fuck knows what's possible from that point? And so, yeah, I'm very excited about all of this death and destruction, being sensitive, but again, we got to keep it light. My computer is actually unable to charge at this time, so I'm really excited to bring up your next performer. Alyssa, Nicole, do you guys have anything else to say before I switch into, as if this has not already been comedy mode? You know what's really funny? I'm actually going to like switch devices with you, and it's going to be, oh my God, that's the thing, theater, you guys. I couldn't have planned this, but in a way, this is, okay, no. What I want to talk about is Mercury retrograde. I love Mercury retrograde, and I love smoking weed. And here's why. The minute that you let people know as a baseline thing about yourself, and the more you get confident about being funny, you get away with not feeling like a derelict when you say this kind of thing. But it's like when you say to people as a baseline, hey, a truth about me is I'm a stoner. When you own it, like that's like a condition that you are like actually a stoned person. Like you have I have a pre-existing condition, it's I'm stoned. When I give that disclaimer for myself, I know that you're not going to be shocked when the Moonual is this chaotic. Now, it happens to be a Mercury retrograde, and my computer is dying as we speak. But number one, I know it's going to be okay. Number two, the humor, the poetry, how fabulous. I'm loving it, right? How nice to swim and know that you're fine if you swim, right? But it's also like when it's Mercury retrograde, the minute that now I know that everybody, so stoner is actually, I don't need that to be my brand if it can always be Mercury retrograde, because what happens if you use Mercury retrograde correctly is that you practice not taking anything that fucking seriously. That's what it's for. And I don't even the reason I didn't send emails is because Mercury retrograde. Like, I don't fucking send emails on Mercury retrograde. The likelihood with me sending it getting through anyway is pretty low because it's like Mercury retrograde. And also, everybody's going through it. So if I don't send the email and I say, sorry, it's Mercury retrograde, they don't know that doesn't mean I didn't even sit down to write it. It's Mercury retrograde. It means something to everybody, but really means, hey, we're supposed to expect that communication issues may arise. And you know what? We are human beings with feelings on Earth. It doesn't make fucking sense. We're kind of figuring out that we're in a hologram that is programmed by a matrix, and that movie actually was maybe the new Bible, right? Like, what is going on here? Donald Trump is now the super spreader of coronavirus. The poetry. It's all perfect. So every time it's Mercury retrograde, I want you to fucking sigh and take the day off and get so drunk that you puke and show up to the Moonual while you're fucking puking and, blow it. But then tell a story about it. Because honestly, the email wasn't going to get there anyway. Don't fucking waste time trying to write it.